All right, let's dive right into the Pi network. It's a fascinating situation right now because honestly, it feels like the project is trying to do two totally opposite things at once. On one hand, they're squeezing the coin supply, making it tougher and tougher to get a hold of. But at the exact same time, they're stretching the ecosystem, trying to bring in more people than ever before. So what's the deal? Is it being squeezed or stretched? Let's get into it.
And really, that's the big question we're tackling today. Is the Pi network actually shrinking under all this pressure? Or is this all just part of some grand, calculated plan for some kind of massive growth down the line? We're going to break it all down.
So what you've got here is this classic push and pull, right? A real squeeze versus stretch scenario. On one side, you have the network intentionally making its coins harder to come by. And on the other, they're pushing to make it way more useful and easy for anyone to get involved. Let's kick things off with the squeeze.
Okay, let's talk about the squeeze. This is all about the moves that are tightening the screws on the Pi coin supply. And yeah, as you'd probably guess, it's stirring up a ton of speculation and, well, a lot of uncertainty in the community.
So the first piece of the squeeze puzzle, it's the mining rate. The Pi network just dropped the new base mining rate for September, and it's lower. Now look, it's only a 1.23% dip from August, so it doesn't sound like much, but this is absolutely part of a very consistent, very deliberate strategy to slow down how many new coins are being created.
But here's what that really means for you, the person actually mining. If you don't have any bonuses, it's now going to take you over 2 full weeks of nonstop mining just to get one single Pi coin. Think about that. Every single coin is becoming that much harder to earn. And let's be crystal clear. This is no accident. The team behind Pi has been super upfront about this. They're saying, hey, these little tweaks, they're all about maintaining a balanced supply and helping long-term growth. It's basic economics, right? If something's harder to get, it should become more valuable. This squeeze is 100% intentional. But hold on, it's not just the slower mining rate that's putting the pressure on. Get this, a massive chunk of coins, we're talking 6.5 million Pi, were just moved over to the OKX crypto exchange. A move that big? Oh yeah, that is a huge deal. It got the whole community buzzing and, of course, speculating like crazy. And all that chatter really boils down to one simple question. Is this some kind of 4D chess move, part of a bigger secret strategy? Or is someone getting ready for a massive sell-off that could just tank the price? And that question, you better believe it, has the market totally on edge.
Okay, so that's the squeeze. Now, let's flip the coin and look at the other side of this story, the stretch. Because at the exact same time the supply is tightening, the network is making some seriously big moves to grow its ecosystem and actually make it useful in the real world. And the star of the show here is a brand new platform called PiNet. Honestly, the best way to picture it is like a bridge. It's a bridge that connects the good old internet you and I use every single day, Web 2, with all the new fancy Web 3 apps that are being built on the Pi network. And this is where it gets really cool because the impact is massive. Before PiNet, the Pi ecosystem was kind of like a private club, right? A walled garden only for its 75 million plus members. But now with PiNet, it's like they've blown the gates wide open and built a superhighway connecting that garden to the entire internet. Now anyone using Chrome or Safari can jump in and start using Pi apps. That's a game changer. And believe me, that is just the tip of the iceberg for this stretch. The whole ecosystem is absolutely buzzing. I mean, look at this. They're making it easier to buy Pi in over 60 countries. They're slapping their name on huge crypto conferences like Token 2049 as a gold sponsor. Over in Sweden, you can now invest in Pi through a regular old financial product, an ETP, and they're even building KYC functions right into the blockchain with Protocol V23. This is a full court press for mainstream adoption. It's not all just about these huge, flashy moves either. The team is also proving they're paying attention to the little things, the day-to-day stuff. Like recently, a bunch of people were getting this failed to load error in their wallets because of a traffic spike. Instead of just shrugging it off, the team jumped right on it and gave everyone a fix. It's good to see they're juggling the big picture and making sure the thing actually works. So, okay, you've got the squeeze pushing in and the stretch pulling out. With all these mixed signals flying around, what does the market, which is, let's face it, the ultimate judge, have to say about all this? Yeah, let's talk price. If you look at the price right now, it's telling a story of a tug of war, a total stalemate.
analysts have their eyes glued to two numbers. You've got this solid floor, what we call support, holding strong around 33 cents. But then you've got this tough ceiling, the resistance, up at 40 cents that the price just keeps bumping its head on. The real fight for Pi's future value, it's happening right there, in that tight little channel. And you can see just how much the price is reacting to the news. Check this out. On August 28th, some good news drops about network upgrades, and bam, the price jumps almost 7%. But then, just a couple days later, the whole crypto market kind of tanks, and Pi gets dragged right back down to that 33-cent floor. And since then, it's just been bouncing around inside that range we were just talking about. Now, here's the key takeaway from how the market is behaving, and this is super important. With all the panic and fear about that massive 6.5 million coin transfer, the price didn't fall off a cliff. Nope. In fact, it's been surprisingly tough, even creeping up about 2% over the last week. So what does that tell us? Well, for now, it seems like the market is way more hyped about the stretch than it is scared of the squeeze. All right, let's pull back for the big picture. Let's put all these puzzle pieces together. What does this constant tug of war, this squeeze and stretch, really tell us about the Pi network's journey? Not just where it came from, but where in the world it's headed. You can actually see a really clear story unfolding here. It all started back in 2019 with this super simple, almost crazy idea. Hey, what if anyone could mine crypto on their phone? Then came phase 2. Let's build some scarcity. Let's slowly chop down those mining rates. And right now, we're watching phases 3 and 4 happen in real time, making it more useful with things like PiNet and building these critical bridges to the world of actual finance. Which brings us right back to where we started, the heart of this whole thing, the squeeze and the stretch. It's this incredibly delicate balancing act. On one side, you're making the coin scarce, hoping that drives up its value. On the other, you're making it super accessible and useful, hoping that drives up its value. Two different paths to the same goal. And that leaves us with the final, and I think the most fascinating question of all. Are we just watching a bunch of chaotic, random moves that don't make sense together? Or are we actually witnessing the messy, difficult, but ultimately calculated evolution of a project that's trying to grow up from a simple little phone app into a real complex digital economy? That right there is the billion-dollar question, and the market is still trying to figure out the answer.